So I want to just introduce you now to Margaret Flood. Margaret is the SEN Education Officer for the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. She's been there for 19 years, working in the area of inclusive and special education, including teaching policy development and curriculum design. Margaret will introduce the Level 1 and Level 2 learning programmes in schools, will target the very specific group of students with general learning disabilities in the range of lower functioning, moderate to severe and profound categories, and will target students who have general learning disabilities in the higher functioning, moderate and low functioning mild categories. Gosh, that's a mouthful. It looked much easier when I read it on the paper, but I'm sure you'll explain that in a much more simple way. So thank you very much, Margaret. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, I'm going to say 19 years as an educator and I still haven't mastered technology. but sometimes it allows me to empathise with the students that I have worked with over the years, and sometimes it allows me to get really annoyed with them because they know more than I do. So my name is Margaret Flood and I have worked in the area of special education for 19 years. The reason I got into special education is because I have a sister with a mild general learning disability who is functioning at a moderate level because 36 years ago when she started her educational journey, there wasn't anything in place for her. And while for the first couple of years as her 18-month older sister, I thought she was lazy and spoilt and had a great time in that school where she got the bus, she went horse riding, she went swimming, she did home economics, she came home in the evening and she went out playing while I was sent to my bedroom to do my homework and study. And it was only as I was growing up that I realised actually she was being more and more excluded, both academically and socially. When I was getting my junior cert results, she was getting the tokenistic certificate that schools were obliged to design for students back then. And while my mother very proudly put both of them over the mantelpiece, it was obvious that the value was on mine from people who would come into the house because they recognised that. So that's kind of been my journey and why I've spent all of my time working on putting together programs that actually are authentic and meaningful and that are really looking at what your children, my sister, needed and supporting them through their education system and to make sure that they're a meaningful member of their community and their society. So today I'm here specifically to talk about Level 1 programmes and Level 2 programmes, which are part of the new junior cycle framework. The intentions of the Level 1 learning programmes and the Level 2 learning programmes, and everyone is using their acronyms L1 LPs and L2 LPs, is to provide that broad, balanced, age-appropriate and meaningful curriculum for students with learning disabilities in the ranges of low, mild, moderate and severe and profound. So our Level 1 learning programmes are for students with low, moderate, severe and profound, and our Level 2 are for students with low, mild to high, moderate. It's about recognising the learning of these students in an authentic manner with certification broadly aligned with the National Framework of Qualifications at Level 1 and Level 2. To put that into context for you, what we call the traditional junior cert is a Level 3. And what we've done is we've put them all into one framework so that students can and are learning with their peers. The junior cycle places students at the centre of the educational experience, enabling them to actively participate in their communities and in society, and to be resourceful and confident learners in all aspects and stages of their lives. And this was written at the outset of developing the junior cycle framework, and it has continued to be one of our missions as we progress through the development of it. If you look at the framework up there of the junior cycle, you can see that for all students, we have the same 8 principles, we have the same 24 statements of learning, and the 8 key skills. And that is now what we call our curriculum at junior cycle. Where students get to have choice and flexibility is at all the blue boxes above. So now you are no longer obliged to do English, Irish, history, geography, business, maths, all of those subjects. You can work with schools and you can make choices. So you can see we have our Level 1 learning programmes, which were introduced to schools in this September. We have our Level 2 learning programmes, which were introduced to schools in 2014. You still do have your traditional subjects at Level 3. Wellbeing, which is an integral part of the framework for all students. Short courses, which are a lovely alternative to subjects for students who they have all of that knowledge, but they can't get it out in a 90-minute exam that we all know is a test of writing and speed and memory. The short course is based on continuous assessment portfolio, where they do a classroom-based assessment at the end of 100 hours, and that is recognised in their junior cycle profile of achievement. You also have other areas of learning. So for your student who has been an integral member of the school musical every year for the last 3 years, that can be recognised on the certificate. If somebody is a very charitable young person and they have been fundraising for local community projects, that can be put there. If they're on the student council, it can be recognised there. So the junior cycle is actually about recognising the whole student rather than just focusing on those subjects, the June exams and the results that come out in September. That unfortunately still is the focus from the media. But this month and into December, all of the schools will be given the JCPAs, which will recognise everything that is up there. So we'll go into the Level 1 learning programmes first. And a student's learning experience at Level 1 is the opportunity to engage in 6 priority learning units, PLUs. We post-primary teachers love our acronyms, so that's all we use. So you have 6 PLUs and you have 2 short courses. And this is your Level 1 learning programmes. The 6 PLUs are approximately 250 hours each. That is 50 hours more than a subject at Level 3. So that shows the time and effort that goes into this to ensure deep learning and understanding and development of skills for your child. The 2 short courses are 100 hours. That is the same as it is for Level 3 and Level 2. However, there is an acknowledgement that for some students 100 hours isn't enough. So the word approximately is put in there. So if teacher, student and parent decide that actually your child needs 150 hours to complete that short course successfully, that's okay as well. In addition to your Level 1 learning programmes, you have wellbeing. As I said, this is an integral part of the programme and it permeates through everything that is done in the school. You have the other learning experiences that I spoke of. The other learning experiences that I spoke of. When we were designing, and particularly when we were trialling the Level 1 learning programmes, we realised that there is an awful lot going on in schools that isn't recognised. So when your son and daughter is going out to OT, physiotherapy, for your child who actually it might take an hour for them to have their lunch, that all of these are learning opportunities for your child and they should be recognised. And learning outcomes within the PLUs can be taken and they can be translated into those times of day for your child. So before, people who don't have the knowledge saw that as wasted learning opportunities. What we're saying now is actually this is another learning opportunity for your child. This is where what they're learning in the classroom is translated and generalised, and they absolutely should be acknowledged for the time and the effort that they put in to actually developing their skills in all of those areas as well. So that actually covers an awful lot that is taking place for students who have severe and profound learning disabilities. If we look at our priority learning units, as I said, there are 6 of them. They're 250 hours each. You have communication, language and literacy. This covers areas such as developing communicative relationships, understanding, exploring and using. I think that's a lovely one because that really is about giving the child choice. They're getting to explore the different opportunities, the different options, the different games that they're playing in the classroom, and it's developing their ability to say, I like this one, I don't like this one, I like this one, but actually I prefer this one. And it's doing all of those simple things that before, I know when I was so focused on ticking the boxes of the curriculum that I had, the set objectives, that I actually didn't have the time. Once they could say, I like, I don't like, I didn't think about actually preference, I like this more. So I think that one is really important. Reading is there, but it's not reading our ABCs, it's not reading the story, it's functional reading, it's reading that your child needs. And this is the lovely tailor-made aspect of the programme. It is working to your child and working to make sure that everything is done to meet your child's needs, your child's strengths and your child's talents. And again, written expression. It's not about writing, it might be whatever communicative technologies that your child is using. If we look at numeracy, and I know it's one that everybody gets stressed about, child, parent and teacher. Again, this is about what your child needs in school at home and in the community. So it's about awareness of the environment, pattern and sequence, developing a number sense, shape and space, and time. Again, all those functional aspects of life that are really important. If we look at personal care and well-being, it's self-awareness, personal care and hygiene, food and nutrition, emotional well-being, physical well-being, and personal safety. If we go to being part of the community, it's relating to others, using local facilities, transitioning between environments, again something that's really important and again wasn't recognised in the older curriculum and guidelines that we were using. Being safe in the community and contributing to the community, and recognising that all of our children, regardless of the abilities or disabilities that they have, that they are members of our community and they should be out there and that they can participate and contribute to their community in their own meaningful way. The arts covers visual art, music and drama. One lovely example of this, when we were writing it, there was an awful lot of people quite concerned, particularly with the drama and just the abstract nature of that. And there's one school in Sligo, and what they actually did was they combined the drama aspect with the personal care and well-being. And when they were dealing with emotions, they assigned every emotion a colour. And then for drama, the students put, and they literally got sheets of purple, red, blue to represent all their different emotions. And the students just wrapped that colour around them, did their facial expression, and did the movement that demonstrated that emotion to them. They took a video of it, they put it up on Facebook and Twitter, and it was absolutely fantastic. And that shows what you can do and what represents drama. It doesn't have to be the school play. It is whatever is meaningful to the students in the classroom at that time. Physical education, again, this was one like, I mean, what are you talking about? My child is in a wheelchair, they need physio, they need OT, and now you're saying you want them to do physical education. We absolutely do, because they move around like everybody else does. It's movement skills, which is athletics, gymnastics, Pilates, yoga, all the stuff that I would never dream of doing in my life. And again, it is all part of their physio, and it can be done as that, but it's done with their peers as well. Cooperative activities such as games, whether that's floor games, whether it's bowls, basketball, whatever they're doing, that's all part of it as well. Creative movement, dance. Again, body awareness, getting to know your body, getting to know the space around you when you're working with your classmates. A lovely activity. And aquatics. This is the one that people literally went, what? You want my child to be swimming? I don't want your child to be swimming, but I want your child and every child to enjoy the water, to know what's going on out there. Again, another school put up a lovely little video. When they were doing aquatics, they actually used a foot spa, and they put the students' feet into the foot spa. And the first one, actually, I was very uncomfortable when they shared the video with me, because I went, they're upsetting this student. The student doesn't like his feet in the water. He doesn't want to be there. They showed me the second video. The child was dipping his feet in, taking them out, dipping them in. The third video, the child was actually soaking the teacher, splashing. And the fourth video, he was running in and out of a little fountain in the local community. I hadn't seen aquatics that way. That teacher and that child taught me all the different opportunities they are to do this. And if that teacher didn't know that child and hadn't challenged that child, he would have stopped that activity at the first video when you could see the child's discomfort. But because he knew him so well, he knew that he could challenge him. And I think that's a really important aspect of this programme as well. So if we move on to the short courses, the NCCA has developed 3 short courses at level 1, but schools can develop their own, and there are an awful lot of really interesting and exciting short courses out there that are developed in the context of where schools are. The 3 that we've developed is around the world, and it looks at things like Home is Where My Heart Is, and sports. So you go into a classroom and there's a picture of the country, there's a sport. I'll say New Zealand just because I know we thrashed them not so long ago. So they would have the rugby team up there, and they would have songs or pop stars or whatever it is. So again, it's about making it very concrete for all of the learners, but you still are saying there is a world outside of Dublin, and we want you to know a little bit about it. Planes, trains and automobiles, how you can get from A to B, whether it is that you're using the school bus, mum and dad are driving you, or you're using public transport yourself. And bon voyage, getting out of the local community, doing a day trip, going shopping with mum and dad, whatever it is. It's about planning a little trip that you can do that as part of everything you've learned in this short course. Looking good, feeling great and being well. Self-explanatory. Again, as I said, well-being is really, really important. So this is another short course that delves into that area of well-being, and it is just about minding yourself, making good choices and feeling good about it. I know sometimes when I make good choices, I don't always feel good about it, but it's about showing if we make these good choices, what will come out of it. Food, glorious food. Again, very self-explanatory. This is about looking at what the foods are out there, looking at your food pyramid, making good choices, and enjoying yourself. One of the outcomes of this is that you do actually make a little meal together as part of a community, and you eat the meal together. And another school actually invited the parents in, and they were telling me they invited the parents in, and the students had to do all of the work. They were cooking the meal, they were serving the meal with the assistance of the teachers and the SNAs. And for the first 15 minutes, the teachers literally had to block parents from coming up and trying to do the jobs that their child had been assigned. And they said the tension in the room, because the parents were like, oh my God, he's going to spill it, he's going to drop it, he's going to burn himself, whatever it is. And after 15 minutes, everyone just sat back and relaxed. And they got messages in the following days going, oh, Bobby, helped me make my sandwich today, and different things like that. And this is what the level ones and the level twos are about. They're about promoting that independence and letting mum and dad and nanny and granddad and uncle and aunts take a little bit of a back step once in a while. Very hard to do. My sister is 41 and I still feel the need to tell her what to do at least twice a week. So I understand that, but something that's really, really important. And our schools are showing us that it can be done at the moment. The Level 1 learning programmes really acknowledges the diverse range of learners within this cohort. So here we are still talking about our students with severe, profound and low moderate disabilities. And what we said is that we can put this lovely programme together and we can put these learning outcomes together, but for a learner to genuinely engage and genuinely succeed, that we have to acknowledge that even within this group, that they are all learning different. So what we put together was progression pathways. So a learner can engage with any learning outcome at any one of these pathways. And if you can see, we start from experiencing, we go to attending, responding, initiating, requiring, becoming fluent, and generalising. Now, just because your child is at the responding stage in a learning outcome in numeracy doesn't mean that he or she is at that responding stage for every learning outcome in every PLU. This is about recognising strengths and areas to focus on. And your child can access any of our learning outcomes at any one of these pathways. So there's nothing fixed about it. It is about tailoring everything to your individual child. We would be saying that students that are at the generalising area might also be able to look at or dip into some of the Level 2 learning programmes, which I will talk to you about next. So when we look at the achievements for Level 1 learning programmes, there's the 7 pathways. So this is how your son or daughter is going to achieve their Level 1 learning programmes. It will be through one of those 7 pathways. It's authentic assessment and recognition of students' learning. So it's no longer saying, oh, didn't she do great? Didn't he do great? And yes, they did it. Teachers actually have to provide evidence of learning. So there will be a portfolio together. Our PLU evidence is through the portfolio, and that's continuous. So you I as a teacher will decide that on Monday I am assessing Bobby in 3 different learning outcomes. I will gather the evidence, I will put that into Bobby's portfolio. I won't forget about those learning outcomes because, as we know, it's always continuous and we need to go back and relearn, but I will be moving on to other learning outcomes as well. The short course evidence is gathered through a classroom-based assessment, and that where they just have to complete a task at the end of the 100 or 150 hours, and again that will be put into a portfolio as part of their evidence. Your child then will get the junior cycle profile of achievement. This is the same profile of achievement that every student, when they move into 5th year, will get to say that they have completed their junior cycle. It will recognise level 3 subjects, level 2 learning programmes, level 1 learning programmes, wellbeing, other areas of experience, short courses. For your child who is engaging at junior cycle at level 1, it will say opposite their PLUs successfully completed if they've obtained all of their learning outcomes, or progress achieved. And the reason we put progress achieved in there is because shortly into the trial of the programme, we realised that for some students it's not fair to expect them to achieve it all in 3 years. So what we are saying is that we are looking into this translating across into senior cycle as well. So you and your child and teacher might decide that you're going to do 3 PLUs for junior cycle, and you're going to leave the other 3 for senior cycle. So those 3 would not be on the JCPA, it would just have the first 3 as successfully completed. Alternatively, you might decide that you are going to do the full 6 as junior cycle, but that you will only do a certain percentage of it. So there will be progress achieved, and then at the end of senior cycle, it would say successfully completed. I know that's a mouthful, and I still have to remind myself every time I'm talking to get that correct. If we move into our level 2 learning programmes, these are for students who are in the low mild to high moderate range of ability. For the students' experience here, you have 5 PLUs, again of 250 hours, 2 short courses, and that makes your L2 LPs. Technically, this makes up 60% of the curriculum, while your L1 LPs is your curriculum because you're acknowledging all of the other areas of learning within it. Your level 2 learning programmes is 60%. So your school is still looking at other areas, other curricular areas, well-being and other learning experiences. And what's really important here is to know that if your child is really talented in the area of art, that they can do level 3 art. You're not boxing them into the level 2s. If they are really good, so for example, I'm out of the classroom just over a year now, so I did the first run of the level 2 learning programmes. And one of my students, he was just really, really good with his hands. I was in an all-boys school, hence I keep saying he all of the time. And he was really good with his hands and he really enjoyed making things. But his literacy levels wouldn't allow him to sit a level 3 exam as they were back then. So he went to woodwork. He was able to complete the woodwork project. So he was in a level 3 class with his peers completing a level 3 project, but I didn't put him through having to fail a level 3 exam. What we did was we recognised that he completed a level 3 project under other areas of learning. So it was still recognised. It's not like that he went in there, he did all this work over 3 years and he got nothing. It was put in there, but he didn't have to experience the failure of failing the written exam, which is one very, very small part of it. So I think that's really important as well, just to keep in mind. The PLUs for level 2 learning programmes, how am I in time? Good, yeah. Perfect, are communication and literacy. And again, this is bringing it up a level from level 1. It's speaking appropriately for a variety of purposes and demonstrating that you can be an active listener. So again, in school, it might be how you would speak to your principal, how you would speak to your classmates, how you would speak to a teacher. Just knowing all the different ways of communicating. I'm using non-verbal behaviour to get the message across, and also understanding somebody else's non-verbal behaviour. We found that particularly with our students with mild general learning disabilities, because they are so sociable, but sometimes they couldn't read the body language of their peers. And we found that we needed to spend an awful lot of time doing that. It wasn't part of the old curriculum, so you were rushing through it. Here, it's an element. There's 5 learning outcomes to achieve to say you've done this. So it meant that we could put the time into something that was really, really important. Reading to obtain basic information, so whether this is information for your subjects, travel information, timetables, whatever it is that you need, filling in forms, that's all part of it there. Use a range of writing to express opinions. Use expressive art to communicate. And again, it's recognising that writing isn't the only way to express yourself and communicate, that there are other avenues, and it's acknowledged and used here as part of the level 2s. And use suitable technologies for a range of purposes. And I know Bobby was talking about the touch typing. I would have hated to have to do that when I was in school. But a lot of our students need this. So it is using that. It's using iPads, using dictaphones, whatever it is that makes life easier and learning easier for your child. You can use it as part of that. Numeracy, very functional. It's about managing money, developing an awareness of time, developing awareness of capacity and weight in terms of cooking, in terms of those functional things in life. If they are cooking or baking a cake, that they can actually measure all of those things out themselves. Of distance and length. If they are going on a journey, how long is it? How long will it take them to get there? And using a calculator. The level 2 says using a calculator, but I know most teachers are using mobile phones. So when it says calculators, because that's what you're bringing into a shop if you want to know what to do. Personal care is about developing good daily personal care, healthy eating habits and lifestyle. And then it moves into things like managing stress, being aware of one's sexuality and recognising emotions. And those really, really important elements for students. And then making personal decisions. Living in the community is about developing good relationships within the family home, within school, and then within your wider community. Being able to resolve conflict, again within the 3 settings, using local facilities, being able to seek help and advice. We found this one was really, really important if they are out, that they know that as well as going into their local Garda station, they could go into their local credit union or the local bank, rather than just asking a stranger on the seat or on the street, just identifying places where they could go and they could seek advice or help. And then making consumer choices. Even if it's a simple thing about going to the cinema, well, which cinema do I want to go to? I don't have to go to the one around the corner that isn't showing the movie I want to watch, that I've developed all these skills and travel and all of these different things, and I can get the bus to the one that's 5 or 10 minutes away. Preparing for work is really developing the vocational skills and starting to prepare the students for life after school. I know it's only junior cycle, but it's a bigger picture for these students, and you have to start early so that they do have the skills. It's about supporting them to set learning goals, start finding out about work, what they might like to do, offering them opportunities to go out and visit workplaces and maybe do a little bit of work experience. A lot of schools allow students to do work experience in their canteen or up with the secretary, with the caretaker, all of these different aspects. It's about preparing a work-related activity and then taking part in that work-related activity as well. The NCCA again has developed 3 short courses. Again, schools have developed their own short courses, and it is about working with what's in the context. This one is a personal project caring for animals. It probably is the most popular short course out there at the moment because everyone loves animals. So a lot of schools focus on caring for dogs because a lot of us have dogs or indeed cats at home for pets. But some schools have been really creative, and there was a school in Newbridge and they took in rescue hens. And they built their hut. Now, I'm not very... Thank you. I said everyone loves animals, not me. They built their tube. They brought the hens back to health. The hens started laying eggs. They used the eggs in home economics. Then they started up a little shop and they sold the eggs to their mums and dads. When you're dropping me to school, could you buy some eggs for my dinner as well? They saved enough money and they went out and they bought a second set of rescue hens. And this is going on. I think they're possibly in their 3rd set of rescue hens at the moment. Now, the problem is Christmas Easter, summer holiday, which mum and dad has taken a hen home to mind them for the summer holidays. And I've heard stories of a parent, the year there was like the terrible snow, and the parent going out and actually bringing the hen into the kitchen because she was so worried something would happen. But that shows the bond and the engagement of not just your child, but the whole family in it. And this gave back something to the community as well. So I just think that's a lovely story that always sticks with me. We have Exploring Forensic Science, CSI, where they actually have to solve a crime. So I read this one, I went, no God, no way, couldn't do it. The kids were able to do it. It is actually about using logic. It's not the science part, it's about using logic, setting out the scene. A school down in Galway, actually every year a teacher gets murdered. And everyone comes into school and they have the chalk of the teacher on the floor. And the kids, and it's not, this one is actually really popular with level 3 students as well, is that it's not just for the level 2 learning programs. Any student in the school can participate in this week-long investigation. So again, it's visibility in the school, it's about being a member of the community, and it's really, really fun. They've done a lot of work up to that week, so they know what to do, but they put on the lab coats, they have their little charts. It's absolutely fantastic. And again, it's putting the abstract into the concrete and making it meaningful and enjoyable for the student. The third one, Animation and Enterprise, will be online from January. It's been a while in the making, and again, while it sounds really abstract, it is a fantastic opportunity for your child to learn about the business world through the medium of filmmaking and animation. And we know that with technology today, all of our children are just surpassing us. So it was a really good one to kind of tune into that, and also to allow them to use their imaginations. Schools don't actually give children a lot of opportunity to use their imaginations, and this is one that does. And I'm not going to go into another story. No, you have to. I have time. I go on tangents. I brought the phone up. I haven't even looked at it once. The school that developed this, a country school, and they went through it, and their animation was the farmer's cow got robbed. So they had all their little cows, and you could see somebody coming in with a tractor and putting the rope around the cow's neck and dragging the cow off along. And everybody, all the farmers come in, and you can see the little hands carrying in all the characters, and they're all given out in their country accents, you know, who did this and who did that. And there's a whole thing about going searching for the cows. And they're all sitting around bonfires because they had to learn about graphics and stuff like that. Eventually they find the cow and they find the thief. I won't tell you what they did to the thief. It gets a little violent after that, but it was just absolutely fantastic. One of the students who was a voice for one of the characters has selective mutism. So the school finds it really, really difficult to get that child to orally engage, but through a character, he was able to engage, and he continued engaging in the voice of that character after they had finished the enterprise and animation. And the school were quite happy if that was how he was going to communicate. That was better than him sitting silent in the classroom. So that just shows what you can get out of these little things as well. So, achievement for the level 2 learning programs. It doesn't have the 7 pathways because we are acknowledging the increase in ability, and we're moving up towards the level 3, and some of these students would be doing level 3 subjects as well. Again, it is the authentic assessment and recognition of students' learning. Nothing in level 1 or level 2 is tokenistic. It is authentic. Teachers have responsibility to gather this evidence to show that it has been done. Again, it's the PLU evidence is gathered through the portfolio, and this is continuous. The short course is gathered through the classroom-based assessments, and the junior cycle profile of achievement is achieved. So there is no yet to be achieved or partially completed here. If you don't do the 5 PLUs, it's just not put on the JCPA. So there is no failure, it's just not put there. Only the ones that your child has achieved will be put on the JCPA. So assessment for both of them, as I said, it is ongoing assessment, it's classroom-based assessment, it's portfolio-based. But the school, the teacher and the child choose the medium for this, whether it is written, whether it is artifacts, video, it can be whatever you want. It can also be thematic. In my school, we used to get through a number of learning outcomes, and then we would set them when school exams were going on, because they weren't doing school exams. We would give them a task brief, and they would complete all of their evidence for the learning outcomes during that exam time. So at Christmas, we used to send a greeting card. So they had to come into school, the exams were going on, we went down to our room, and they had to spend the day making their own greeting card, writing their message, editing their message, doing their safety. How are we going to get to the post office? Where are the traffic lights? Where is the crossing? What do we do if we get lost? How long will it take us? How much is a stamp? Where is the post office? Going into the post office, queuing up, communicating with the lady or the gentleman behind the counter, asking for their stamp, asking for their receipt. We always made sure that they brought a €5 or a €10 note with them, depending on where they were with their managing money, so that they would have to count their change. And then they would have to make their way back to the school themselves. So we walked behind them and they had to lead us back to the school. That covered about 20 learning outcomes. And we photographed, we videoed, we gathered evidence. I was really mean. I made them make 2 cards, one they could post home and then one they could put into the folder. So yeah, I was a bit mean doing that, but I thought it was really worthwhile. And then Mum and Dad are ringing the next day because it was also a secret. So we were learning about good secrets and bad secrets. We were doing an awful lot of staying safe as well. So this was a good secret because it was going to be a nice surprise for whoever opened the card. Now I say actually I'm being mean and made them make 2. Sometimes they'd want to make one for like nanas and granddads and uncles and aunts. So sometimes it turned into a 2-day event to get all of the cards made. But it was really well worthwhile. We did one if they were doing caring for the animals. We did a task brief on going to the zoo. So again, the same things, but then in the zoo, they had to research one animal outside of a dog or a hen or whatever they had been doing, and we did it that way. So again, it's the creativity, and it's really feeding in to the students' interests as well, not our interests. Going to the zoo would not be top of my agenda, but we went every year and they absolutely loved it. The programs, both programs are about choice, challenge and flexibility. It is not boxing your child into any one category. It is saying that you are going to pick from what I put up on the screen at the beginning that best meets the strengths, talents and learning needs of your child. So if your child is participating in level 1 learning programs, you and the teacher might decide that they will just do level 1 learning programs. But you might also decide actually they could do numeracy at level 2. And that is completely appropriate and that is completely fine for you to do. For a level 2 student, they might be doing the 5 PLUs at level 2 and they might be doing 1 or 2 subjects. So for example, I used to always put my students into CSPE because at the time CSPE was based 60% on a project. So I went, they can get that 60%. It's a 40% exam, but they'll have so many marks going in. I'm fairly confident that they will pass it, so I will let them do it, and they're also having that class with their peers. They obviously all went to PE, and like that student who went to woodwork, he didn't sit the exam, but I still acknowledged what he did. So it was finding the strengths of the student. I actually had one student, and his maths was better than any student in his year. So obviously I wasn't going to make him do a level 2 numeracy. That was very functional. He did, it was an ordinary level at the time, he did an ordinary level maths. And this is the joy of these programs, is that you can do it that way. Just to let you know that there is information for schools and parents, and my colleague from JCT, Fiona, is in the room. I'm not as au fait about what is being offered because they change daily. In response to teachers. So Fiona is going to talk to you a little bit about what JCT are offering. And Fiona has a stand outside as well.
Yes. Morning. We're nearly closing approximately lunchtime. It's to just to advise you that I'm with the Junior Cycle Support Service for Teachers, and currently we are offering mainstream through the area of the special ed team information and upskilling regarding the level 2 and level 1 programs. Our level 2 programs, as Margaret has said, have been in our system for a couple of years. We now have very much that that a child will be following a junior cycle through either a level 2, level 1, level 3 basis, or a combination of the 2 or 3 elements of that. Our information we provide, outside, for some of you who have already met me, there are information leaflets for parents, for guardians. We would provide the teacher CPD both in mainstream settings and in special school settings, and we have webinars. It continues to, sorry, I beg pardon. And again, we tend to go into acronyms. We are providing professional development training to teachers, to practitioners, in relation to how they can combine in terms of their own subject specifications and also the level 2 learning programme elements. And furthermore, we would have not only a great deal of webinars already conducted, which is that digital sort of pathway of talking through the process, even in relation to that professional training that we're providing. There's a number of webinars that are already archived on our Junior Cycle for Teachers Support Service website. And most recently, we conducted a level 1 learning programme webinar, and it was very, very well subscribed. We are conducting also within our special school settings engagement at different levels to do with the level 2 programme. And we will be really forcibly looking at the level 1 programme, CPD, from January onwards. So there's quite an extensive range of professional learning possibilities now within both the mainstream and special school setting provided by the Junior Cycle for Teachers. Okay.
And I suppose in addition to that, I would say ask your CNOs about what's on offer as well. Some schools still aren't aware. I think it's safe to say they're all aware of level 2 at this stage, but the newness of the level 1 learning programmes, that some schools may not be aware of it as much as myself and Fiona are out there talking about it. Just to reiterate then, I suppose I'm coming to my last few slides, is the authenticity of this programme. It's no easy feat for you or your child. It is an awful lot of hard work, but I will show you some of the responses to parents about that at the end. The people behind the programme are the teachers, the pupils, and for some reason the picture of the parents has fallen off the slide here. And it is about that triangulation of communication. Everybody is involved. Work should be sent home, there should be communication. You as a parent, when you sit down, and it starts at the IEP process. I know some schools have moved to the new language of student support file. So it's at that stage where the priority learning areas are identified. And then as a teacher, you will look at the level 1 or the level 2s, and you would say this priority learning area is this, and this learning outcome. So initially for everyone, it's going to be a little bit more work, I'm not going to lie, because you have to get your head around the new language. And before, when we wrote our priority learning areas, that was it. We wrote them in our own language. So every teacher had their own way of writing them. Whereas now it's streamlined, and you're putting it with the learning outcomes. So it will take a little bit of work on everybody's part. And as parents, I would say be a little patient with teachers in the beginning as they're coming to terms with it. But make sure that you are part of the process, and make sure that your son and daughter is part of the process as well, because we are very much saying that they really are the centre of this. And if it's to be meaningful, it has to be tailored to their likes and their talents and their interests as well as their needs. And I think that's really, really important. So it is about them completing the relevant PLUs and the relevant learning outcomes within those PLUs. Each PLU has its elements we went through, and they are all broad and balanced. So it is covering a wide range, so that whatever the priority learning area is, that it can be mapped onto those. The learning outcomes are skills based. It is about preparing your son and daughter for life after school. I know we're only junior cycle, but it is the big picture. 2 years will go very quickly when they finish junior cycle, and it's about setting the foundation that we can build on after that. Progression pathways at level 1, as I said, they allow for differentiation of success for your child. It's acknowledging every success at their level. And as I said, communication between school and home. And this all equals a personalised education for your son or daughter. It also results in being able to genuinely celebrate their achievements, their learning. As I said, I keep saying it, everything is authentic. And there is the JCPA. They are receiving the same certification as all of their peers in every post-primary school, every junior cycle special school in the country. The only thing they may not be getting is just the state exam results that come out in September. We are really hoping that they will become less and less of a feature as more subjects become part of the new junior cycle framework. To preempt some questions, I know there may be questions about, but what about primary and what happens when they go into senior cycle? So at primary, the 7 pathways that I put up for the level 1 learning programs are also now progression pathways at primary. As the new primary language and the new primary maths are coming in, the milestone A, B, C and D would be where we would see students with general learning disabilities from severe to profound to mild will be beginning their journey. Some students will progress past that, some may stay there, and that's okay. Again, for the students who would be at milestone A, they will be using the 7 pathways because we are saying that they still need extra support to do that. You may be aware that there's a senior cycle review going on at the moment. And when I spoke about level 1s, I said we've already acknowledged that for some students, limiting it to 3 years is unfair. So we are reviewing how that can progress into senior cycle. We are also addressing the questions about what's there for my son or daughter after the level 2 learning programs. To be quite honest, at the moment, nothing. But it is something that we are looking at. If you go onto the NCCA website and if you go into senior cycle and click review, you will see there are opportunities. It says, how can my school participate? But anybody can go into, I'm going to say it's senior cycle at ncca.ie, and you can give your opinions. Alternatively, you can email me and I'll pass them on to the senior cycle review. This is my time to take off my NCCA hat and say, get in there and give your opinions and give your voice. At the moment, we're looking at progression and pathways. So I really want people to be telling the NCCA what it is you think we should be considering as we move forward. So that just leaves me to say thank you very much for listening to me. I did have a hard task to follow. I know we're doing questions and comments later on, but again, there is my email address if anybody wants to take it down. And I've given you all of JCT's information as well. Please feel free to contact me, particularly around the senior cycle review. I'm going to be really mean. I'm going to say any questions about training, go to Fiona and JCT. Thank you very much.